Hey, rock stars. How are you? Checking to see if I'm live here. Go live. Here we go. How are you guys? Today is August 5th, and this is Rockstars Unplugged. All right, I think we're live officially now. Welcome to Rockstars Unplugged. I am Holly Sutherland. I'm the founder of Rockstar Organizers, and I work with the organizers to train them to reach 10K months, working 2 days a week with clients. And I have a special gift for you at the end of today to invite you to something that we're doing tomorrow and over the next couple of weeks for free. That is going to help you get some more skills to get closer to those 10K months, if that sounds interesting to you. And I help organizers open to a guided path who don't want to have to do everything themselves. They're open to guidance to overcome the trap of perfectionism and operate at a higher level than they ever dreamed possible. And honestly, it is this perfectionism that can make it difficult to pick yourself back up after you have let yourself down, right? We can be very difficult and hard on ourselves as perfectionists to think that we have to get it all right the first time or just scrap it and start over. It kind of makes me think of these notes that we would write in middle school. I was really big into like the bubble letters and drawing all the stuff. And if I made a mistake, I wadded up the whole paper and threw it away. Well, next thing I knew, I'd spent a whole pack of paper wadding up mistakes and throwing them away. And I see that a lot with the organizers that I coach, is this letting themselves down conversation. Hi, Emily. Good to see you. Hugs to you, my friend. I'm going to double check that this is live on Facebook. I want to be able to see your comments if it is. If you can comment if you are watching on Facebook, I want to know. Actually, I think I can pull it up from my phone. Okay, yeah, there we go. I'm going to keep my phone up to be able to answer or see your comments. Okay. So 3 ways to pick yourself up when you let yourself down. So I'm curious, I want to know, what is one goal that you have that you're really working towards right now? So if you tuned in last week, you knew that one goal I was really working towards was getting my Jeep. I had a 2021 Jeep Sahara that I really wanted, and I had a deadline, and I made it happen. So I got really clear, and then I got into action and made it happen. So that was one goal that I have, but I'm really curious about you. What is one goal that you have that you're like, I really want this, I'm really working hard towards this, that if you're honest, you've let yourself down a couple times while reaching towards that goal? Are you able to share any specific goals with me so that I can see where you're at with this? What are your specific goals? And the question to ask yourself with this goal, such as a 10K month, is why do you want this? And Shannon on Facebook says, be much more consistent. So why do you want that goal? Why is that important to you? It's usually because it's going to make something possible in your life that means something to you. It's meaningful. And it's not just this willy-nilly thing. You know, business is usually just a vehicle to do something you like in order to get the money, honey, to do the things you really love. And I think if all of us are honest as organizers, we love organizing, but we love life and family and adventures and travel and being home and decorating a home and being a homebody. Comment homebody if you're a homebody. I'm kind of a homebody. I do like to travel, but there's nothing like being home. I like to go on a trip, but nothing like being in my own bed. I'm a homebody. I like to just be out in the country, honestly. I like to have quiet and peace and space around me. This morning I was watching the deer out in my backyard just like go back and forth. I saw a mole out my kitchen window a little bit ago. I'm like, usually that guy, I named him Brian, the mole that lives under my shed right here. He was out just in broad daylight today, just getting his suntan in the middle of the day. But I love watching all the critters out in the country. Sometimes I would much prefer to be doing that than working. But then I'm like, okay, well, I got to work to make the money to pay the bills to keep the life going, right? And sometimes if we're not careful, we live to work instead of work to live, right? So Jamie says, get clients to start making money to have financial freedom. That's really good. Emily wants to go on a trip with her hubby. I love that. Hey, come to South Carolina. Come to South Carolina. So Shannon's a homebody. Linda's a homebody. I know Linda has been working on her kitchen remodel. I'm curious how that's going, Linda. Linda Lauf. She wants to work less in client homes and let the team do the labor. Oh, yeah. Samuel says, I like having early mornings to myself before the world begins. Amen. Amen. Just you and the squirrels and the birds. Sometimes the deer or the horses. I know Samuel likes to walk at the horse park. Yep. Got some homebodies in the house. Stephanie is watching. Hi, Stephanie. Good to see you. So, you told me a goal that you want. You told me why you want it. Now I want to know, what have you done towards it? What have you done towards this goal? Linda is stagnant on the kitchen. Shannon wants to save $2,000 a month for personal goals. I love it. Stephanie says hi. What have you done towards this goal? What have you done? Have you saved a little bit towards it? Have you made some progress towards it? Have you maybe gotten a little bit of the way and then you got stuck? That's typically when we get down on ourselves or let ourselves down, is when we've done something towards it and then something happens. Maybe we weren't sure how to progress, like with the practical skills, like what do I do next? Or maybe we just honestly fell off the wagon and we let ourselves down. Can you relate to that? Like, I was doing so good. Everything was going along and then just like something happened. What happened? I can't even remember what happened. Oh, I went on a trip and I let my habits fly out the window and I didn't really get back on track when I got back. Or a friend came over, she asked for help. I abandoned my own needs to help my friend. And now I'm kind of regretting it because I got to catch up on my own stuff while I was like after I was helping my friend with her stuff. Maybe that's the situation. Trying to get business out there in various ways. Yeah. So here's a few ways that letting yourself down might look like. Look like getting that random thing out of your, what in the world? It's like a piece of rosemary or something. I don't even remember eating rosemary. Okay, anyway. So breaking your own rules. Breaking your own rules. That is one way that we let ourselves down. So comment the word rules if you can relate to this scenario at all. I have this goal. I set these rules for myself. I'm militant about reaching them. And then I don't do them for whatever period of time. And I'm like, I set that rule for myself. Like, why did I break my own rule? You made this rule for yourself. Type rules if you can relate to that. You know what my dad said about me as a little girl? My dad said, if there wasn't a rule, you were going to create a rule. Well, you know why I think that is? It's because rules make me feel safe somehow. Even though I'm kind of a little bit of a rule breaker, if I'm honest. Rules make me feel safe. Like I'm doing it right. So if I can make my own rules, I'm going to make myself feel safe and I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to crush this life. Oh, too bad it didn't work that way. Yeah, Cindy and Linda are saying rules. You're like, oh, I got all these rules for myself, but now I'm breaking my own rules, and now I'm just disappointed in myself. And I found that disappointment is a difficult feeling for me to feel. Not even as much as when other people disappoint me, because I feel like I can forgive them and let it go. I don't really hold grudges per se. But it's that feeling of disappointing yourself and myself. It's a feeling of disappointing myself that's like, oh, I did it again. I said I was going to do the thing, and then I didn't do the thing. Can I really trust myself to do the thing next time I tell myself I'm going to do the thing? Hashtag relate if you can relate to that. You set up these rules, you don't follow them, and you're like, I'm just not even doing what I said I would do. That's another way that this can show up. Letting yourself down. Yeah. Y'all are resonating in the chat. I see that over there. You're letting yourself down. You're not doing what you said you would do. And the third way is trying to do it all yourself instead of asking for support. It's kind of hard for us to ask for support sometimes if we're honest, because we're like, I can do it. I can figure it out. I'm an independent woman. I can do this. I can do this. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, I just want to pay somebody to do this. So Linda says, hired the right people and delegated. Cindy says, can you give us an example of rules, please? Okay, Cindy, why don't you give me an example of what you think I mean by rules? What do you think I mean by setting rules for yourself? Maybe any of y'all can comment with what you think I mean. What do you think I mean by setting your own rules? She's asking for a rule about what it means to set rules. Time blocking, she says. Okay. Cindy, what is a rule that you have set for yourself? Something that you told yourself you were going to do, and you were going to do this consistently. You're like, I got to follow this rule. You could have brought it on yourself. You could have seen it in the Momentum curriculum. I know you're in Momentum, so you watch some of that stuff sometimes. You're like, there's this rule I got to follow. She says, I'm really not sure. Okay. I'm going to post on social media every day. I'm going to go to 2 networking meetings a week, 2 networking meetings a month. I need to save 10% of everything that comes in. I'm going to do some bookkeeping like this. I'm going to not do this until I do this. I'm going to do that after I do that. I'm never going to do that again because I need to do that first before I do that. It's constantly making rules for yourself about how you're going to do things, and then you do it again and you're like, damn it, I did it again. Okay. Sydney says social media posting. Yeah. So how do you feel whenever you don't do what you said you would do, Cindy, with social media? How do you feel? How do you feel when you don't do what you said you would do? How do you feel when you try to do it all yourself instead of asking for support? Yeah, she says like crap. You feel like crap. That's a great way to put it. So which of those 3 do you resonate with the most? Is it breaking your own rules, not doing what you said you would, or trying to do it all yourself? 1, 2, or 3. Rules, not doing it yourself. 1, 2, or 3. Comment in the chat, 1, 2, or 3, which one you're like, oh yeah, that's me, if I'm honest. Yeah, Holly, you got me pegged, that's me. 1, 2, or 3. Cindy says 2. Not doing what you said you would. Linda says 2. Yeah. We got some 2s up in the house. We got some 2s up in the house. Not doing what you said you would do. So yeah, it's kind of crappy because you feel like you let yourself down. So here's 3 ways to pick yourself back up when you let yourself down. These are pretty regular conversations that Holly has with herself. Okay, Emily says 1. Thank you, Emily. for breaking your own rules and being honest about it. So 3 ways, here are 3 ways to pick yourself back up when you let yourself down. Number 1, talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend you love. How many of you are so much kinder to everyone else but yourself? And somebody else comes to you and says some issue, this, that, or the other, and you're able to empathize with them. You're maybe even able to give them a little encouragement. It's okay, next time try this. But with yourself, you're like, I don't want anybody else to know how I really talk to myself, because it is not like I would talk to a friend. So that's number 1. So here's an example of talking to yourself like you would talk to someone that you love. So here's an example of how I talk to people if I love them. I ask questions. I feel like questions are love. Some people might feel like they're interrogating. But instead of trying to just give advice, well, you should just do this, this, and this, and this. It really pisses me off whenever people do that with me. I'm like, you didn't even listen. I'm trying to give advice on something you really didn't even listen to. So like, it doesn't even feel like it applies. Plus, I don't feel heard or seen. I feel invisible to you because now you just want to fix it. You're like trying to help, but really you're just making it worse. So the way that I would personally talk to a friend, which is how I've started talking to myself now more, is by asking questions. So there's a really good book. I think it's called The Coaching Habit. I just blanked on the title, but I think that's what it's called. And it's on Audible if you want to listen to Audible. And basically, the coaching habit is about asking questions. So, a good coach actually is not there to give you pointed advice exactly what to do. That might be a consultant. A good coach is going to ask you and pull out what's going on inside. Well, tell me more about that. Almost like a nurse. So I used to be a nurse. So when did that start? Yeah, how do you feel about it? How does that feel? Yeah, what else is going on? And you're inquisitive. A good coach and a good friend is inquisitive. And sometimes they ask you a few questions and you get it out and you're like, oh, that's how I felt. Yeah. And then you feel motivated within yourself to go find a solution. Y'all women, tell me if I'm right or if I'm right. Somebody asks you a few questions. They see you. They hear you. They don't even have to give you a laundry list of things to do, because honestly, you probably kind of know what to do. You're just kind of disappointed with yourself that you didn't do what you knew what to do. Oh, yeah. So talking to yourself like you would talk to someone you love is to ask questions, be inquisitive with yourself, and think about what you could do next. So we tend to think in big projects as organizers. We're like, oh, I'm going to do this whole thing. I'm going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be awesome. Then we get 2 days into this project. We're like, oh, I need help. I'm tired. We go gung-ho, and then we fizzle out, right? So part of loving yourself enough to pick yourself back up when you let yourself down is to break down a big project into a few small tasks. So maybe whenever I asked you earlier, excuse me, I asked you earlier what one goal is that you have. If it stays this big picture thing, almost like a cloud in the sky, like, seems really nice. But how can you break it down and take that big project into a few small tasks? Now, maybe you want to do something that you've never done before, and you're like, I don't even know how to break a big project into small tasks. Telling yourself that you don't know how is honestly a big part of the block. So one of the things that I learned in my coaching certification is the statement, I don't know, is a cover. I don't know how to do that. What would you do? I don't know. So the question that I was taught to come back to that with is, if you did know, what would you think? If you did know, what would you do? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Which is usually, in fact, this happened today. Somebody commented in the chat of our member call, I don't know this or this. And I said, honest question. Do you not know, or are you scared to prioritize the thing you know you need to prioritize? I said, honest answer. She said, I'm scared. I said, I hear you. It's normal to be scared about stuff that you don't feel like you know about. And we had a heart-to-heart conversation about it, and she was able to come up with some things that were going to help her move forward. But if I had come in with advice, well, you should do this, this, and this, and go to this link and this link and that link, it probably just have overwhelmed her. But she was able to come up with a thing that was going to help her to feel better, which I could have never come up with. It was to do her hair and makeup in the mornings, and that makes her feel unstoppable instead of this icky feeling that she had. Which, as a mom, I'm sure you can relate to that. You're like, I'm rocking the mom bun and the third reheat of the cup of coffee, and haven't even brushed my teeth this morning or taken a shower. And taking a shower feels like a luxury sometimes, right? Without little kids in there. So getting yourself into a place of feeling good and power, and not allowing yourself to tell yourself, I don't know what to do. It's really just a way that you're blocking yourself from progress. Typically because we're scared. It's human. But that's one way to pick yourself up, is to say, well, okay, there's this big thing I want to do. What are the next 3 things I can do? Very simple stuff. Well, I can open up the website, search for that thing, and put it in my calendar to make an appointment to do that thing. That could literally be your next 3 steps. But we overcomplicate this stuff when we let ourselves down. Oh, now I got to come up with a more detailed and strategic plan because last time I didn't do it, so maybe I just need more rules. I broke my rules, so maybe I need more rules. Yeah, that's the answer. No. It's not the answer. Just take what you already know that you want to do and just break it into your next 3 tasks. And then number 3 is to remember who you are. Remember who you are and why you want this. So why did you start in the first place down that path? What is the thing that you really saw in your mind's eye that you're like, I want that? I can see that. Because what you see in your mind's eye is what you're going to get. You're going to be creating realities all around you based on what you see. So remembering who you are might look something like this. I've had this on my mirror, actually 3 different mirrors, for probably almost 10 years. I've changed the tape out a little bit because it loses its tapiness. I'm an exquisite, powerful, and lovable leader. I've had that on my mirror. Like, that's the way for Holly to remember who she is. Exquisite, powerful, and lovable leader. So 3 words. We've done this before. Actually, Linda, who's watching, was in Nashville. We did this on a little card a few years ago. 3 words to describe yourself. Remembering who you are and why you want this. Well, if you're going to do anything as an entrepreneur, there's got to be something that is driving you, because this is a lot of work. To be honest, it's a lot of work. And you don't really know what you're signing up for. You think you're signing up for all this freedom. And you get into it and you're like, well, I got some freedom in some ways, but dang it, I got to be my own boss. You're like, I think I'm the worst boss I ever had. Can someone just tell me what to do? Yeah, I used to feel like that. Now I'm like, well, Holly, being hard on yourself didn't work. you're definitely not going back to a 9-to-5 job. That's not an option. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to break down a big project, do some planning, ask myself what's next, and get to it, right? Get to it. So one area that I struggled the most with over the years, the last 5 years specifically, is creating my online courses. Is emotional. I had so many goals. I had so many visions. I've took so many twists and turns in the last 5 years. It's better now than it's ever been, but I did a lot of this stuff right here. And it was an expensive road, honestly. It was an expensive road in a lot of ways. Because I could see this thing that I wanted, which I got a little teary-eyed yesterday because I'm like, I could see this house in the country and this white Jeep. I could see this 3.5 years ago. And I spelled out exactly what I wanted in my journal in a house. And so when I saw it, I was like, that's it. Like, I know. And it even had things that I didn't even know I wanted, like this screened-in wraparound porch. I knew I wanted a wraparound porch, but it had a screened-in wraparound porch. And the good Lord knows I do not like bugs. I went camping last week with my family. I wasn't quite camping. I was like in a cabin or whatever. But I got this big bite on my big toe. The bite on the big toe does not play well with Birkenstock sandals. Let me just tell you that. And that's what I wear all the time. So it's got a Band-Aid on it. I do not like bug bites. Kind of a wussy when it comes to bug bites because I just have super sensitive skin. I'm super sensitive, like sense of touch. I'm like super sensitive everything on my body. Sensitive skin, sensitive teeth, sensitive hair, fine hair. You know, like everything's sensitive. Surprise, surprise. And I didn't even know that I wanted a house that had a screened-in wraparound porch, but God knew. And whenever I joined a coaching program myself, they had me spell out exactly what I wanted. And they knew that getting specific about that, even down to like what kind of food you want to have in your fridge, is going to be the thing that drives you to keep going when you've let yourself down. And honestly, after I joined it, I got 2 months in and I had to like pause everything because I went through a big breakup at the same time I was moving. It was last May. Good Lord. I learned a lot. And I'm thankful for it. But I was very specific. And now it's where I am. And I was very specific in what I wanted in this Jeep, like 3.5 years ago in February of 2021, after an experience that I had with a white Jeep and this lady who pulled us out of the snow. It's like, oh, that's totally badass. I'm gonna get a white Jeep. I've been looking at them for like 3 years. Well, then this one came up after I got super clear in April in Reboot, which is a 30-day program we do with Rockstars. Twice a year, we're getting ready to do it, starting in a couple weeks. If you want to join us. And I put it on my vision board. I put the white Jeep on my vision board and I was like seeing them everywhere. You know how when you want something, you start seeing it everywhere? I was like taking pictures of myself, like selfies with the Jeep, you know. Went to Charleston, I saw it. I went to California and I saw one. I'm like, well, that's the Jeep, you know. Well, then the one that I got, I didn't even know there was this thing called a power rooftop. All I knew was hard top and soft top. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work taking a Jeep top off every time you want to go. With the whole driving factor for me is like, I want to drive with the top off. But like taking it off and having to have a lift and do all this. I test drove 3 Jeeps before I found this one. But I saw it. And there was a time where it didn't look like it was going to happen because I paid cash for it. And I was like, I do not know if this is going to happen by the deadline that this person has set, because I bought it from a specific person. But, you know, I didn't let myself wallow. I was like, well, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to run this blitz. I did this 12-day of Christmas. Some of y'all might have seen that. That was to get the Jeep. Unashamedly, that was to get the Jeep. And I got it last week. And I've learned that even the first time that I let myself down when I want something is not the end. It's like data. Data, something that didn't work this time. And instead of the self-sabotage cycle that gets 60% of the way through and something doesn't go right and you're like, oh, I got a 60. I'm like, oh, I got a 60. Okay, well, 60% worked. How can I make another 10% work this time? How can I get to passing with a 70%? You just got to change the attitude of like, I tried this thing. It didn't work quite like I thought. But instead of getting deflated and going into the swamp, I'm going to get back up, try again, make a little tweak and a pivot, try something different, put myself out there in a different way. Know that it doesn't mean anything about me if this thing doesn't work. It's just what it is. It is what it is. But where we get down on ourselves is where we make it mean all kinds of things, right? So that is the area where I struggle the most with this in creating my online courses. And if you resonate with this at all, Cindy says, preach. If you resonate with this at all, I want you to join us tomorrow, August 6th, it's Tuesday, in the Virtual Organizer Masterclass. So this is 1 hour where I'm going to be walking through some lessons learned and some tips for you on 6 ways that you can make money organizing from home. Yeah, sounds pretty cool, right? This is the path I've been on for 5 years. It's like, I want to live out in the country, go into town if I want to. I'm a homebody. I like to be here, decorating, doing my thing. Watching the deer. And so I set out to find a way to do it from home. And this is not the first course I've run, Momentum and Team Building Blueprint. I've run several. And I'm going to show you some secrets of what works. So here's how you sign up. It's free. rockstarorganizers.com/VOM. Stands for Virtual Organizing Masterclass. So I'm going to put that in the chat here. Yeah. And if you want me to DM that to you, just type the word more, and I'll be happy to send you a direct DM to join us in the masterclass tomorrow. All right, so those are the 3 ways to pick yourself up when you let yourself down. Maybe you have broken your own rules, not done what you said you would do, and tried to do it all yourself. Instead of asking support, even though you've proven to yourself that that's how you let yourself down the last time, is that you tried to do it all yourself. But 3 ways to pick yourself back up. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend you love. Break down a big project into a few small tasks. And remember who you are and why you want this. Here's my heart for you. Remember who you are and why you want this. So join us tomorrow in the masterclass, Virtual Organizer. This is if you want to make money from home organizing. Honestly, you could come just be a fly on the wall if you've ever even thought about that. So that's how you sign up. I will see y'all next week. Toodles.